You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei.
Hello and welcome to the Techie Leadership Show. Today with me I have my co-host and guest on this show, Bogdan Crudu.
Hello.
Hi Bogdan. Bogdan cut his teeth starting in his family business at a young age. Early in his teens, he worked during his free time, weekends and vacations. As soon as he got his driver's license, he worked full-time, including a full managerial role, hiring and firing people, onboarding and training employees, doing the full spectrum of work from contracting, managing, accounts, and sales to stuff like mopping the floor. This has inspired him to learn people skills, marketing, and copywriting, and he has had a successful venture helping international companies break new grounds and gaining new markets. By training, he is a jurist with a bachelor's in law, but by trade, he is a software engineer, working full stack since his first year in programming. He rose in rank from junior until he was head of department, a position which pushed him to not only develop and grow the technology he was working on, but also manage clients, keep close relations with customers, and be the first man on point whenever important things happened. Through his experience, he has this to say: working with people is oftentimes hard, but managing people is harder and at the same time so much more rewarding. Hi Bogdan.
Hello, Andrei.
It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Same.
The stories you might have.
Stories I do have.
Yeah. But before we get to those, do you want to add anything else about yourself?
I think I will add more as I progress through the stories I will share with you. So, as an introduction, I feel that's enough.
I would let you pick your cup of poison. And do you want to start with the success story or the failure story?
Well, let's start with a positive note and go on with the success
Awesome,
story.
I like it. So what would be the biggest leadership success story you've witnessed personally?
Well, funny enough, it's a success story that I have not only witnessed but lived personally.
The best kind.
As hard it is to speak about myself, I think I would nominate my own path and transition in my career as a success story.
To tell.
People who know me, especially through my business ventures and not only, they might have a hard time believing that at heart I am an introvert.
An introvert?
Yeah, I was always the shyest kid in the schoolyard. Even as back as kindergarten, I had a hard time expressing myself or speaking, feeling like I don't have anything to share with others. I was always the quiet kid that interiorized everything.
And now you co-host a show.
Amongst other things,
Amongst
yes.
other things.
Yes.
How did you manage that?
Well, life, I guess. Getting challenges. Basically, and I wouldn't recommend this to other people, but basically having your back against the wall and only being able to push through. The only direction was to succeed. It was hard working in my family business. As any person who has ever worked in a family business, they know through sheer experience, you're always first one in, last one out, first one to do the work and last one to get paid, if you get paid at all.
Yeah, especially in a small family business.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it small. At the peak we had like 80 employees. It's a virtually integrated business. It's in a highly competitive field. It's very technical in nature, and it's not exactly quite a mom and pop shop. It's actually industrial in scale.
Touch ceiling scale.
Not as big as we wanted it to be, though.
That's true. And basically, you're saying that leading yourself brought all this positive change in you.
Exposing myself to adversity. So, at first, it started with people pushing me to do more stuff, namely my parents. But then I wanted to branch off for myself, and basing that on the previous experiences of doing good work in my family business, I said, well, I want to try this, I want to try that. As you mentioned, I studied one field, I studied laws, but I did a 180 switch into programming.
Was it hard?
It was challenging. Well, by the simple fact that it was possible, I can't say it was hard. It was more difficult for me because I have a humanistics background, so I was always the most technical, challenged person in any environment I was in, which was the main reason that spurred me on the idea of making a change.
To tell.
So, funny enough, it started like a joke. I asked my brother, listen, I have absolutely no clue around computers other than starting them up, and if something bad happens, restarting them. Oh my God.
The whole shortcut.
Yes. And I would like to learn a little bit about programming, just a little, just to familiarize myself with the field. And one thing led to another. I was like, maybe I should do an internship. So I won't launch a career out of this. So an internship just to have some experience, to see some real world applications in play, and cut my teeth in this field would be nice. But an internship led to a job led to a position led to a bigger company, and so on and so forth. And the years do roll on fast.
Yes, they sure do. And then you got to be head of department.
Head of department, that is correct. A very, very challenging experience working as the head of department, because you're responsible for your teammates, you're responsible to train, onboard, and dare I say mentor other people, and not just the juniors. You're responsible to keep in close touch with clients. It forces you to always be courteous and polite, even though you have to repeat yourself for the 8th time, 9th time, 10th time, saying the same thing to your customer, and sometimes they don't understand. So yeah, challenging but very fulfilling.
That sounds really great. And this switch, like going from a background that has nothing to do with technology or hard sciences, do you recommend it? Is this something good?
I would recommend it so long as you can push on through with the initial 6 months of it, because you have a steeper curve. You have to catch up to other people who started on this track in their teens or even in their childhood. But afterwards, it helps you having a different background, because you come with fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, different set of experiences. Some things you can learn faster because you have a different background, and for everything else you can always reach out to other people to help you. One thing that is very misquoted and very poorly portrayed in popular media is how software developers and technical people in general are distant, awkward, and hard to speak to. Nothing further from the truth. You will find some of the most friendly and open and funny people you would ever expect. So it's
Yeah.
very easy to reach out, and just to prove it, you have internet boards with people spending their own free time solving solutions anonymously and for no pay for other people.
Yeah, it's a great community. It is.
An amazing community.
And it's worldwide, and people love to help each other, solve problems, and it's something that I wish like more professionals will embrace.
Yeah, kind of like a band of brothers.
Yeah, it is. It is like a band of brothers, a worldwide band of brothers.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, since your varied experiences, you probably have some failure stories also.
Yes, I do.
So, what would be the biggest leadership failure story you would like to share?
As you mentioned, yes, I have more than just one, but I think one of them sticks out like a sore thumb, so to put.
Okay.
So I witnessed this personally. It was during my time working in a startup, working in a very technical and competitive field. They enjoyed good growth, lots of business. They could achieve way more with way less than their competitors, which made them shine in the field.
Okay.
Honestly, everything was going great. People did their jobs themselves. They managed themselves. They knew their attributions. They managed their time well. And you would think, well, that sounds like the perfect recipe.
It's perfect. It sounds awesome.
It's
what
true.
What more do you want?
It's true until you throw a wrench, a monkey wrench inside the equation.
Okay.
The only problem with this particular business is that the person in charge wasn't in it for the same reasons that the people were in it. So you have a person in charge that people were supposed to depend on them.
Okay.
But and they were supposed to depend on them for their livelihood. But this person
Why was he in business?
took it lightly. He wanted to be in business. I think I don't know. It sounds mean, but maybe one day he woke up and I want to be a businessman. I have no idea. I make no light of any person's reasons for starting in business. You can start it for any reasons, whatever. Doesn't matter so long as you start. But once you have people dependent on you, you have to be very responsible and you have to pick the right reasons to keep going. Yes. Now that in of itself shouldn't be the reason for failure, but I started to see a pattern of promising bigger and better things and no follow through. So when you have a situation where you're asked to commit, you're asked to put in 110%, 120%, you're asked to work weekends, take no vacations, stuff like that, and you don't see the same level of commitment higher up, you start asking questions. Now, even that isn't enough, but you start to see trade-offs. You start to see low level of investment in people, second-hand equipment, second-hand computers, second-hand furniture, but you see a new and very expensive chair for themselves, and it's like, wow, the company has $5,000 for an orthopedic chair, but we have old furniture. Okay.
Interesting.
So what I'm getting to is that any crime, and I take the liberal term to say this, any crime you commit can be justified or can be accepted, at least by a spectrum of people out there. But there is one thing that no person can ever commit and expect to be forgiven for, and that is the crime of hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
So people will get you for that. That there's no way you can, if you make apologies for it and make a 80% gesture, and you make a 180% degree turn, and you're honest, and you see that you've had a bad attitude, and you make an honest gesture of changing yourself, people are willing to accept that. But so long as you continue in your old ways, they will get you for it.
Yeah, you don't have just to talk the talk, you also have to walk the walk.
Yeah, and the results of this have been high turnover rate in a business that normally should be very stable. We should have been able to expect at least a 3-year stint for each and every employee. A decrease in business, loss of customers and clientele, because how you are with your employees tends to be the way you are with your customers. So no matter how sweet of an appearance you put up, later on they catch on and they'll get you for it. That's how you lose contracts. That's how you tarnish your reputation. And slowly but surely, that's how you lose your place of business.
Yeah, that's true. And based on all your experience, which are really rich, working in the family business, building your own businesses, going to corporate life, and acquiring a technical background, what would be your leadership philosophy?
My leadership philosophy. Be human.
Okay.
So, yeah, it sounds obvious because you are human, but be human in its entirety. So you have your own strong points, weak points, and I think one of the most human things possible is the aptitude to learn. It's the way and the main reason why society thrives is because past generations left up instructions and teachings for new generations so that we can start from a different launching point, which helps improve society. Learning is, in of itself, one of the most human traits possible. It's what differentiates ourselves from every other living creature on the planet.
Yeah, and as long as we're living, I believe we should be learning. And is that also your belief?
Yes. Learn new things, experience new things, and build up on those past successes to guide yourself forward.
Amazing stuff. And for aspiring leaders, what would be the top 3 leadership tips you would have for them?
There are 3 tips, but they work in conjecture as one. So being a leader means by definition that you have to work with people. You can't be a leader just of yourself. Well, you can have the attitude, but it's not really the same. And I personally believe that each and every human relationship out there is based on a stable foundation of honesty, trust, and respect. You start each new relationship, whether with clients, customers, your teammates, your employees, or your higher ups, you have to start it with honest intent. Now, being honest doesn't mean you have to give full disclosure. So you can still be a private person, but be honest with what you share and with what you do. This will lead to a build-up of trust. The more and more you have dealings with the same person in an honest manner,
I see,
will build trust between you, rapport and trust. And once you have that, along the line, as time passes, you will build respect. And if you have these as the foundation, I believe you can achieve anything.
And I like how they all link together and they build one on top of the other.
Yeah, you can think of them as short-term daily goals, medium-term weekly goals, and long-term yearly goals.
I like it a lot. And since you mentioned learning as an important key to be able to improve yourself on a daily basis, what is the book that had the most profound impact on you?
It was pretty hard to pick just one.
Okay,
So
you can choose more.
a lot of books had a great impact on me, but for today's episode, I will share just two.
Okay.
So the first I want to share with your listeners is Il Principe, The Prince, by Niccolo Machiavelli.
Machiavelli, really.
Yes. Funny enough, he wrote the book on stately leadership back in the 1600s. He gets a lot of bad rep for that book because he took a very direct and objective onlook on how a leader should behave. And to put it lightly, it's not a polite set of rules.
Yeah. He isn't known for being that polite.
But the truth hurts, and deal with it.
Okay.
It's not a very long book, so you can pick it up and read it in one day. I highly recommend it.
And what did you learn from the book? What's the main takeaway you got from it?
Funny enough, this is another popular term that was inspired by, I think it was inspired by The Prince. You probably heard it from mobster movies. It's just business, it's not personal. In all popular media, it's used as a hypocritical excuse. Okay, because they're all the characters that say it are always portrayed as very subjective people that always deal with things in a subjective manner. But honestly, it is business, it's not personal. If you conduct yourself, and I don't mean this as a means to excuse bad behavior. No. If you are very successful in your business, in your niche, by the sheer fact that you are successful, all your competitors are less successful.
Okay.
That's not personal. That's business. And the client, the customer, the end person gets to benefit the best possible service because you're doing good business.
Okay.
And it's the same even with working with teammates. Listen, you might have a colleague that is your friend. You like him a lot. He comes at you with a work assignment. He did the work. He wants your review. Okay? You have to give him your full, honest review. That doesn't mean that you don't like him as a person. You might really dislike the work he did. Okay? Don't pull your punches. Now, diplomacy is important.
Yes, it is.
So I have to do it in a polite manner. But it's business, it's not personal. If he or she stinks at their job, not only are they wasting your time, they're wasting their time.
Yes, and you're not nice you're not a good friend if you don't tell them that.
Yeah, the sooner they catch up to that, they can either improve, which would be amazing, or switch fields.
Yeah, go and do something that they're really excited about.
They might find all sorts of potential doing other stuff, and there's nothing worse than wasted potential.
Yeah.
A second book I really want to share with you is called Obvious Adams, The Story of a Successful Businessman. It was written by Robert R. Updegraff. It is a very old book. The first time it was published, I think it was in 1916. You can read it in 45 minutes, which is the main reason why I recommend rereading it a couple of times. So I go back to it periodically.
Okay. Why? Why do you go back periodically to it?
Because it exemplifies the importance of the obvious. So you'd think the things that are obvious. They're not.
They're obvious actually in retrospective.
In retrospective, yes, but never going forward. And you can save a lot of time, a lot of money, and you can do a lot of great things if you just take the time to notice the obvious.
Yeah, and usually the obvious, it's usually like the easiest path you can take.
Yeah.
And it's worthwhile, and it's often discounted.
True.
Okay, Bogdan, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Well, they can find out more about me on techyleadership.com. That is my main point of contact. But they can also connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and yeah.
Awesome stuff. I enjoyed a lot our show together, and looking for doing it again.
Here's to greater things.
Here's to greater things.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.